Tumbleweed, second part. Hiya and greetings. We meet once more again. This time of day, light or nighttime, depending where you are, seems particularly nice. Writing this script and meshing together particles into this video, it felt good when I ate some Nutella chocolate cream smeared over white square toast. Doing that, I listened to some multiple tarot card readings on YouTube, which resonated with me in some way or another. This combination of things made me feel calm and playful in a relaxing way, that it almost felt like sin to have fun doing something closely. If not, then at least vaguely related to work. But nevertheless, I will continue what wasn't finished in previous video. But before that, please keep in mind that this video is for entertainment purposes only, as it's only my perspective and self-reflection monologue. It's not in any way professional opinion, because I am not doctor of any kind. Please take things with grain of salt and seek professional help in your arena if actually there is need to it, be it psychological or physical. Please take things with discretion, and I don't take responsibility if there happen to be some mishaps after watching this or other video in this channel. It's not like there should be any, but to be sure I give this warning, that we are responsible about our own beliefs and actions. Thanks beforehand about your understanding. Okay, previously, I have mentioned that how things sound on paper doesn't really register with humans' bodies' understanding, as known as feelings. For some example, I can mention there was some kind of conference about business advancement stuff, and I vividly remember some nonsense. What so-called expert said, yes, actual expert, that when you cut problem into smaller pieces, it does not make problems smaller. Yes, I could get that probably idea was something like, that problem actually is not getting smaller, and in time and resource frame, you have consumed same resources as when doing it as smaller multiple problems. But then again, when you have feeling that you can do smaller things in more tangible and easier understandable way, is more appealing than same problem, which is as one untangible thing, that you as a human don't really know from which side to start to do that. I don't know what that expert tried to say, because that argument seemed to complicate stuff what other people try to simplify with very useful mind trick, that it is easier to do things when they are cut into smaller doable pieces. You will never want to eat whole cake if it's not cut into smaller pieces, right? At least I know that I would eat more pieces of cake when it is cutted than actual non-cutted one. I actually believe that I could eat 4 cake parts, which are the same as 1/2 of whole cake. But in case when cake has not cutted into parts, then I could only eat something like less than actual 1/5 part before wanting to vomit. In my mind comes observation of mine, that when I eat 2 whole white square bread slices with some toppings, I could wolf down another 2, because my brain thinks that 2 sandwiches are too little. When I cut 2 slices of same size bread for my brain, they become like 4 sandwiches, but little smaller, but still 4 is bigger than 2, so I feel full. And then somehow I want some snacks, but in lesser quantity than usually. Wonders of mind and its logic. Of course, there is some time required for body to adjust itself for smaller portions to eat, while in same time, my brain thinks that I am eating same amount as usually. At least this way, I can manage my food quantity intake in times when I have weird feeling that I have fattened up. I am at my 30s, so this kind of self-managing becomes a habit when there is information that our food intake and how much fats are on label described can fatten me up quite a bit, that it emotionally hurts to have difficulty to bend over to tie my shoes. Belly just likes to grow into front. At least I don't feel as skinny as when I was teenager or when I was young adult in my study years. In a way, by my growth of my belly, I can say that prosperity have been increased. What I just mentioned is only preferred for office workers, because doing physical labor and doing some fascinating gimmicks could lead to serious health problems from malnutrition. I am not some dietologist, but I try to listen and observe what happens with me when I change from one food intake to another, because it is quite easy to fall a victim that some dietary courses messes up your body, not even realizing that. Well, I probably should continue this for another time. Continuing about cutting things into smaller sizes, from my other experience, it was easier for me to help my parents to weed out garden, not as a whole field, but as some strawberry or potato plantation lines, which were divided by some imaginary lines, that it is easier to do this mundane task. And thinking about it roundabout, it's like, more you try to become more effective, more you realize that you need to make more better understanding how your own body thinks, which is not same as we usually think by logic or by thinking guidelines which we acquired by education system. Yes, there are people who think by emotions, and there are people who more understand by logic, and there are those who just make me feel that they are pretty spontaneous like air, in other words chaotic and unpredictable. Me, as an prone to be more logical person, I like things when they are logically explainable and understandable. But ironically, my body feelings and motivational paradigms have their own logic. I could call it logic of emotions, because that logic differs from logical one. For example, if you know by mind that doing something bad is prohibited, you just understand that if it's said that then you don't do that. By emotions logic, there is no bad or good, there is only need or want. Almost sound a little sinful, but bear in mind, it is just natural bodily function which is quite necessary to make us to move forward. Problem starts there that logically speaking, I need to go to work and just mind my own business, paying my attention only to tasks to which I'm assigned and nothing more. Emotionally, there can be situation that I don't want to go to work at all because I am sad, but I don't know why. I feel not wanting to do, and it creates situation that I force myself to ignore that impulse. Why should I care about meaningless emotions, people could ask, if they always have stayed in my way to my daily life obligations? It sometimes was so annoying to be human, and still is, that I try to be emotionless as possible. So, where I was, logical or emotional and their thing. Emotions are our friend, even if they gets in our way. They only give us signals what's happening with us. Listening and understanding your own emotions could be something called like being empathetic towards yourself. Seems livid to say something like, because why would I want to waste my time to emotions, which by themselves are not logical by usual logic. The thing is, while we can be pretty successful by logic alone, there is a thing that our body basically functions by emotions. I can make comparison that emotions are like our lead as blinking lights on some kind of monitoring device, which usually tells us what is happening with our body and ourselves. Only problem is that our education system, even if it is giving necessary knowledge, which usually helps a little to nothing in real-life work environment, because that knowledge is given without actual context where it is applied in real life, does not give any space for developing our understanding about our own feelings and how they actually can impact our current and future lifestyle. It's up to you to learn emotion world at your free time when you probably would want to do something else for fun and relaxation. So, emotions have their own logic, and more learning about them, you start to think more outside of normal logical box. Emotions can be ignored until from accumulated unreleased stress related to that emotion creates some kind of hurtful effect on ourselves. It like a water, it can be ignored as long as it is not overflowing and wetting all around the place. When it is out, it is out. Wet furniture, if not dried out, is more prone to mold, which could be metaphorical representation. What after effects are from ignoring and suppressing emotions. Good thing is that emotions are simple. Bad thing is that we are learned, mostly by force, to ignore them, because usually we don't know what to do with them, or we suppress them by some kind of stereotypical belief. For example, depression could be moment when that water is all over the place, and furniture is prone to molding. We usually don't know what to do with our desires. We figuratively lock them up somewhere inside us and wonder why we all the time feel unfulfilled and sad, or just feeling that joy is some kind of privilege for some other people. For example, men tend to not cry and show emotions, because stereotypically, it is unsightly and means some kind of weakness, but result is that that kind of men tend to be seen as cold-hearted, emotionless, unapproachable, which higher chance being irritated and having higher blood pressure than it should be. Bottled up emotions in time develop unhealthy behavior patterns and many nuances of bodily damages, which are mostly related to strained nervous system. Why it is a problem? Because when you are angry, body secretes adrenaline to something with more power than usually it does. But society declares that anger is bad, and it is frowned upon, so what logically is right thing to do? It is to stop being angry, but that adrenaline still stays in our system. It goes nowhere. Anger, as an example of emotion, is not always triggered because we want. It can be something spontaneous, because there was some trigger, or you could call it activator, from environment in very inconvenient time. For example, mind is tired from overworking, and it wants peace and quiet. But then there is some random person who wants to share some personal or media nonsense, and you can't really predict that. Or, after long day work, returning home house is not clean, or you need to do extra steps to wash dishes before to make some food, and then to go sleep without other free time for other activities, which could steam down stress itself. One time, it is okay, another two, but when it continues as some kind of pattern, that adrenaline in body basically never goes away and becomes in a way more concentrated. What to do with it? In my case, very helpful are many mind hacks. Because of them, me, as person, can feel calmer, that things are not that bad, how from sidelines they can look. First steps are to humanize yourself and accept that those unnecessary feelings are actually natural part of ourselves. It is that society just makes us believe that they are inconvenience of some kind of productivity. From plain logic, yes, I could see that, but I need to understand that many of my personal problems come from neglecting myself as human being. I am not a machine, even it could be convenient to some situations, but I am not a machine that only makes profit on working desk. Ironically, even if society wants us to be more workaholic, they still demand us to feel something because of many double standards. For example, be good worker, have good or excellent achievements, mind own business, have no passion other than work, but in same time by unwritten rules, you are expected to love someone, expected to have friends to whom usually there is no time nor energy, expected to have hobbies on free time, to look more healthy or interesting person, expected actually to have girlfriend, expected to travel, expected to have many things which contradict it. With work effectiveness ethic itself, do more, think less. It's like going to mines, and after that workday with travel time, included remember to hang out with friends or colleagues, to show some respect to them and make some bonding, and then after that remember about your wife and family, and promises to which you agreed to do, starting as goodwill wish, and continued that as obligation with subtle self-sacrifice feeling, to give yourself out all on many directions and having nothing left of actual personal interests, not even interests, just having space. To recover from all of that. So, mind tricks can help to minimize negative buildup of suppressed emotions. Yes, yoga, meditation, spiritually, medical prescriptions, sport, video games, drinking substances, etc. can help to mitigate that stress, but it never solves the main reason why it happens, why that stress cortisol levels again replenishes itself. And for me as a person, it is annoying to do all that stuff to only feel calm. For now, I will end here and continue this in next video. Thanks for watching current video. I hope it finds you well. If not, then you can perceive it as random noise from background, like some advertisement, mumbling on old radio device. Goodbyes for now.